Welcome to the Wisdom from Within podcast. My name is Jen Axe, and I am your host. This is where mindset meets body set, where we access both so that we can make the most genuine, authentic, empowered impact on those we love and those we serve. Let's get started. All right. I am so excited to share this conversation with you. I was extremely moved the entire time. This is an honest conversation about what do we do when we hear those internal voices and we're battling the external expectations. Which one do we follow? And when do we know it's right? And when do we know it's time to pivot? Well, Ben's story is a beautiful example. He imparts so much wisdom and advice, and I'm just thrilled that he shared so honestly. We also share some humor along the way, so stay in it with us until the end. You're going to get a lot of value from this conversation, and my hope is that this awakens something within you too. Okay, here we go. For those of you that are listening now, how lucky you, and those that come back later, lucky you. We are with Ben Katt on the Wisdom from Within podcast, which is where human stories awaken leadership from within. And this is your expertise and this is your jam. I'm going to tell the listeners who you are briefly, and then we're going to jump in. So Ben has been helping people experience deep transformation and access lives of greater joy, which is what we just spoke about, compassion and purpose for the past 20 years. His first book, The Way Home, Discovering the Hero's Journey to Wholeness at Midlife, is a guidebook and memoir about the inner journey we must embark on in order to live our fullest lives. Ben is the founder of the Within Prison Meditation Project, volunteers as a hospice companion, and writes regularly about the inner journey in his weekly Within newsletter. I mean, let's go. What alignment. Ben is a certified advanced meditation teacher of the world-renowned One Giant Mind technique, holds a Master of Divinity degree, and was an ordained minister for over a decade. Previously, he led the On Being Project's work in supporting religious and spiritual leaders in the work of social healing. Ben is an expert at adapting ancient personal development practices for modern contexts in order to help people wake up to who they are and why they are here. He lives with his wife and 3 children in a bunny.
And a bunny. That's a typo.
In a bunny? What are we talking about? Okay.
A bunny-shaped house.
Wait, seriously?
No.
No.
We have a bunny. We have a bunny. And we have a puppy now too, 6 months old. I got to update that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm allergic to bunnies, but they are so damn cute. How is it having a bunny?
Oh, fantastic. It's a Holland Lop, so it's got these floppy ears. Posey is the name. Posey's fantastic. Our gateway pet. That's why we have a dog now too.
Oh, to keep her company?
Well, no, because we were like, wow, we love this pet. And now our kids finally convinced us how great our house is with a pet. So then they're like, we'll get a dog. And we did.
Oh my God, I love it. Well, I'm so honored that you're here. I read your bio before. I actually read it a few times because it's so wildly impressive, but also so resonant for the work that I'm doing and the mission that I'm on. And I'd love to start with one of your taglines. I believe you say the way forward is within.
Absolutely.
All the time. That's just like, right. I'd love for you to talk about that. What do you mean and why? Why is it the way forward?
Yeah, well, I think in our world, it's very common to live an externally referenced life, meaning we are always very often living in accordance to what others expect of us, what others need, what others say is the way, and also looking for, when there's some stirring inside of us, we want to look for some external thing, maybe to fill that or fix it or make sense. And the whole idea of the way forward is within, is to say, stop looking outward, that in fact you have this inner authority. It's always there, this calm,
Mhm.
this wisdom, this joy, this presence.
Right.
And over time, what's happened is we've forgotten that, we've lost access to it. But I'm passionate about helping people reconnect with that, reclaim it, and start to live a life from the inside out. So, to
Yeah,
sort
how
of
do you
land that.
do that?
Yeah,
How
well, yeah,
do
a
you do
great,
that?
great question.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I really think so. Say you're at a crossroads in your life.
Mhm.
At many, I'm sure I have, or you're feeling stuck. It's very common to want to maybe rearrange the chairs, like the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Like life's not
Mm,
really working anymore. You're just trying to
right.
rearrange where I live, who I'm with, what I do.
Mhm.
But what I invite people into is to say, go within first. That's where you're going to find the answers. That's where you're going to get the clarity. That's where
Mhm.
you're going to remember who you really are. You're going to figure out what you need to shed that's maybe blocking you from expressing your authentic identity, and live from the inside out. So that's going to
Mhm.
guide you forward. Now, how do we do that? I mean, well from your work, it's actually, I always say it's actually pretty simple, meaning, but it's going to take some time.
Mhm.
Practice is so critical. What are the practices that are going to help you tap into stillness? What are the
Mm.
practices that help you get quiet? Uh,
Mhm.
what are the things that help you tune in to that inner voice
Mhm.
so that you can hear it, pay attention
Mhm.
to it, and have the courage to live a life in accordance with what it's
Mm.
guiding you into?
Mhm. Yeah, how did you arrive here? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Were you someone that was living externally and then found your way within and then led you to this work? I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's kind of two threads there. One is, from a young age, I felt this connection to something more, and I grew up in a family, a religious context where I was part of a church, and that church is very supportive, a loving community, and I'm thankful for how it gave me really a container to
Mhm.
develop this inner life, this spiritual life, and say that this matters, this is important, and this is a thing that can animate,
Mm.
can energize the work we do in the world and how we serve the collective.
Mhm.
Okay. um, so I had that, and I'm thankful for it.
Right.
Down the road, there's a lot to unpack. It's sort of, I outgrew that delivery system for that kind of inner life that I had, right? I outgrew it.
What do you
Um,
mean you grew out
well, like
yeah,
sort of my perspectives, you could say beliefs, my inner
right.
knowing, just things
Shifted.
evolved. Yeah, where it's like,
Right.
I say it's kind of outgrew it. Like think of a plant, a potted plant that keeps growing. Eventually, that pot,
Mm. Right.
those roots extending in the soil, the pot's not big enough for it to keep those roots to go deeper.
Right.
So it's like I outgrew that container,
Mm.
so that I could continue to grow and unfold and figure out my purpose. So
Yeah.
I bring that up to say, yes, from a young age, there was this call inward,
Mm.
this
Mhm.
tending to the inner life.
Mhm.
But also, I graduated college. I went straight into divinity school. It's so funny. You read my bio. I laugh every time. It's like, I'm a master of divinity, Jen. I'm a
I
master of divinity. How funny is that?
I know, right?
Well,
Isn't it funny to
what,
yeah, have that
yeah,
read back
yeah.
to you? Yeah.
What a funny name for a degree, as if that's something possible. I think what it means is I'm a seeker and
Yeah.
I'm an explorer.
But it was
And
actually a degree, right? Like you got
it's called
it's
it's an MDiv. It's like if you're a pastor or a
MDiv.
reverend, yeah,
Let's go.
that's what it is.
Okay.
So I got that degree, and then I
Mhm.
moved when I was in my late 20s. My wife and I moved to Seattle, and I
Mhm.
started a church there. Okay.
Mm.
Church, there's a lot to unpack there, but really the central to our work was this community center we created, where
Mhm.
we were building mutually reciprocal relationships with people dealing with homelessness, mental illness, addiction. There
Mhm.
were women caught up in prostitution and sex trafficking, and we created a community space,
Mm.
and learned and grew together. And yes, we helped and supported them, but it was, we were being transformed. So I'm in that work, and it's, just bear with me here for a second. It's meaningful, it's impactful, it's even, dare I say, virtuous work. People would look at that and say, wow, bravo.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so what happened though in that work, because there's a lot of need, there's a lot of people to help, is I
Yeah.
did start to embrace a bit of a, unwittingly, kind of this savior complex. Like, I need to achieve and do and perform in order to help people. And if I
Mm.
don't, then what happens? And so at that point in my life, and that's
Mhm.
really it started almost 20 years ago now. But then in the years that followed, it's like I lost connection
Mm.
to my soul. It's like my soul kind of turned off the lights and snuck out the back door. So I started going through the motions in the work,
Mhm.
and it took an event, kind of an epiphany, about 10 years ago to wake me up again, to see that I had been living that externally referenced life. I am what I do. I am what I achieve. I am,
Mm.
perfect. I am what others
Right.
think of me and how they feel about me, as opposed to
Mhm.
moving and operating from that inner compass.
Can you
So,
just talk about, I'm
yeah,
sorry to connect
no,
to chime in, but I'm curious about that. Like, what did that disconnection feel like? And then how did you recognize that you wanted to shift and get back
yeah.
into alignment again?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the recognition that'll help. So I was out on a run. It was like in the early morning in Seattle where I lived, and it's raining as often does. And I was running around this little lake, like 2.5 mile loop. And
Mhm.
typically, I get to this hill, charge up the hill, turn the corner, and run like the last 10 blocks home, and then like clean up, do whatever, breakfast with the family, and then like go about my work and make an impact. And this one particular day I did that, and I get to the top of the hill and I just stopped in my tracks, because this voice welled up inside me, this voice from within, and it said, if you don't have your heart, you have nothing. If you
Mm.
don't
Was
have
it
your heart,
actually like a
yeah.
voice you
Yeah,
heard?
yeah, it was like it was clear as day. It was
Wow.
clear as day. And I just stopped. It's like I pulled out my AirPods and I walked home in the rain. I was all sweaty. I just climbed into bed. I was like, I knew something was up. And in the time that followed, so the very minimum, like, whoa, I realized I'm burned out.
Mm.
I'm burned out. I cannot keep going forward and showing up in the world the same way that I had. Like, something
Mhm.
needed to change. Now,
Mhm.
um, in the days and whatever months that followed, through a lot of introspection and support, I realized, oh, underneath that burnout, which had happened before, by the way, it's like
Right.
this allegiance. There was this allegiance to this. I call it the three-headed monster: achievement, perfection, and people pleasing, or performing to please others.
Mhm. Mhm.
That had become my operating pattern, right?
Right.
So as I look back, then I just say, wow, actually something had been trying to get my attention for a while. So to the original part of the question is like, what did that feel like? I mean,
Yeah.
it felt like going to meetings with people related to work that I was just like not into, that it would exhaust me.
Right.
It felt like helping people, whether it's staff or volunteers or the people at our community center, and just being really kind of edgy, short, and not having a lot of capacity to deal with things. It felt like being increasingly withdrawn in my marriage and kind of a distant father to young kids. It felt like,
Mhm.
feeling alone, and in terms of my friendships. So there were warning signs there. This is all that voice that came to me. If you don't have your heart, you have nothing. I talk about it I talk about this in my book, but using the mythologist Joseph Campbell's language. It was a call to adventure,
Mm.
inviting me into something new.
Wow.
But really the call was coming in all these subtle ways before that.
Yeah.
It's like just pushed it aside. It's like, I got to keep going. I got to keep helping people. I got to keep making money. I got to do all
Right.
these things.
Right.
And so I was avoiding it. And I think
Mm.
probably a lot of people can relate to that in various stages of their life.
Totally. That it's so interesting, call to adventure, and you saw it as, okay, I'm going to walk through this. I'm going to go and explore what this adventure is. I think a lot of people would be like, "Holy shit, like what
Yeah.
does this mean?" But
Yeah.
you actually felt like this is a positive call. How did you know it was a positive
Yeah.
call? Like how
Oh
did
my gosh.
yeah. Let's go.
Such a good question. Well,
Yes.
what's funny is when I got home that day and I crawled in bed, my wife was like, "What is going on here? What's up?"
Right.
and
Exactly.
and I had all these meetings and things on my schedule, and she's like, "You just need to take a day to reset." I wasn't very good at resting, go
Mm.
figure. And but I had one meeting that day that she's like, "You should keep this one," and it was with my mentor Ron. So Ron and I had met regularly. He was like in a totally different line of work. I mean, he was like a corporate executive coach, and
Right.
but supporting me, like volunteering, was a friend, a dear friend. And I had a lunch, so I go and meet with him at like a shopping mall restaurant, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. And I'm sitting across the booth from him, and he says to me, I'm like spilling my guts, like all this, I don't even know. It's like, I don't, what I'm
Mm.
saying. And he says to me, he like looks at me, he says, you know, I want you to know you're a lot more buoyant than you realize. You're a lot more buoyant than you realize. Meaning, you're feeling a lot. You feel like you're drowning. You feel like
Right.
you can't handle this. And he was
Yes.
saying you can. Which,
Right.
as I interpret that now, what he's saying is like you have, and I say this to my clients all the time. You have within you everything you need to navigate this. You
Mhm.
just have to trust it.
Mm.
So I had that, and then actually after lunch we went for a walk in the mall, and there was like a papyrus or store. He's like, "Oh, come in here," and he bought me a journal, and he's like, "Write it down, Ben. Like,
Mm.
write it down." And I had a journaling practice, but at that point I realized, you know what, my journaling had become about looking forward, like what's next, what am I going to do, what am I going to accomplish, as opposed to looking inward, right?
Mm.
And that's where a shift happened. I started to dig in there. Now I'll just put a little like I'll just tag something here, which is to say, what happened there with Ron? It
Mhm.
is, you are leading me into if the first stage of the call of the hero's journey, if you will, that's Joseph Campbell's language, or this journey within, is answer the call to adventure. The second one is get help. And that's what happened. I walked right into help that day. And when you
Mm.
have help, and help arrives to you when you start to say yes to this call, it
Right.
comes your way. Nature supports you. And so you get that. And that, for me and for all of us, it actually emboldens us to keep saying, oh, something is happening. I need to
Mhm.
move forward. Keep going. I can do this.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Something that you said about, he said to you, you just need to trust it. And I hear that all the time. You just need to trust. And the thing is, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, just go trust. And not saying that you feel that, or but it's like, I would love to pause for a second about trust, because trusting the guidance from within, many people don't know if it's right or wrong. And I always say, I truly, I'm not being cheesy about this. I really don't believe there's any wrong way, because I think if we go down a path and it doesn't serve us, I actually think it does. I keep tripping myself because I think that all of it serves us. There's a lesson within all of it. I do believe that. As hard as that lesson might be, it is meant for us. And it's just up to us to lean in and listen and get curious, right? But that trust is so hard. And how do we know what voice to follow and what not? What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree that if you're can I trust it or not, just take the next right step. Just take a step, and maybe you'll hit the, so you're driving and there's some rumble strips there, or maybe you'll hit a curb, but
Right.
it might be uncomfortable. It'll correct you back, right? So
Right.
it'll take longer, but that's not the point. You'll grow and learn from it, right? um so make a decision. If it's wrong, it's not ultimately wrong. So I totally agree with you.
Right.
But once again, you're leading me right down this path. These are the 10 chapters from my book and my own journey. But the third step, and this is just so fun that you're guiding me into this, is actually let go. Again, well, what
Mm.
does that mean? That's hard. But this is really critical to growing that inner trust, is we also have to have, it's really helpful. We might not do it right away, but to take an honest inventory of our operating patterns. So I like
What do
to
you mean by
call
that?
you, um, well, I like to, can I share a little story that'll help people
Yes,
see? Okay, great.
please.
So,
Absolutely.
I like to say, sometimes I'll say like, oh, a lot of people don't know I used to be in professional football, and people, oh, really? I was like, yeah, but it wasn't the NFL, Jen. It was actually the arena football. Like, okay,
Okay.
arena football. Like, and then
I don't know.
actually I wasn't a player. I was a mascot. Okay, that was a mascot. And I wasn't the game time mascot, the one who got to shoot the t-shirt
Wait, is this
gun.
like the peeling back? Like you'd start by
I'm
saying,
This is the story I tell, and I'm telling it to you now. Like, I
yeah,
was in pro football, but I was a mascot, and they sent me
right,
to
right,
like elementary schools and
right.
weird parades. That's what I did. Okay, so why do I bring this story up? It's because when I started that job and my name was Blitz, I was a gray, furry, fuzzy rhinoceros,
Oh
Blitz.
my God.
And I went to the first meeting, and this intern for the organization was walking me and a few other people who were the like low level mascot like me. And he
Yeah.
had two things he said. He said, there's two rules, like two laws when you're a mascot. Number one, don't ever take your head off. Don't ever take your head off. And number
Head
two,
off. Don't ever take your head off.
your mascot
Oh,
head, right?
oh,
Like
I see. Like the costume mask.
the
Yeah.
rhino head, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't, and the other one is don't ever speak, right? Don't ever speak. A mascot can do all these gestures, but they don't talk. Okay. What the hell does this have to do with your question? Well, I realized later in my journey, like that those two rules, those mascot rules, were how I live my life. One, don't let
Wow.
people see your true face. Don't let people see your true face. Number two,
Wow.
don't speak with your authentic voice. Don't let people hear that. Okay. And so this image of the mascot, or think of, there's masks we wear in the language of Carl Jung. It's the persona. It's the ego's way it puts itself forward to fit in, to get its needs met, to stay safe.
Right.
And we learn this at a young age. And guess what, Jen? It's really helpful. It's really important. It's really powerful. It helps us survive. Okay. However, at some point in our lives, we get to a point where we've outgrown it. This is the operating pattern that doesn't work anymore. And so this work of letting go, it's not about just like letting go of, oh, I'm letting go of the job or the relationship. It's deeper work on this inner journey. It's actually saying, what are these operating patterns, or what's the mask I've been wearing that I have come to believe it is authentically me. I'm an achiever. I'm an organizer. I control things. I help people. I'm a lone wolf. Like there's a million different masks we can wear. We can all like name our own, come up with your own name. To the degree that we are firmly wearing that mask, we will have a more difficult time accessing our wisdom within us.
Right.
Because we're going to be stunted at the level of, if I'm trying to make a decision from the level of the consciousness state of achiever, I'm probably going to dive into some other achieving thing right away, as opposed to maybe the riskier, more subtle thing I'm being invited into. Okay. So there's some acknowledgement, naming, and beginning to shed or let go of those masks. That helps us more clearly tune in. Does this make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. It's really interesting. You're I don't know if I'm lagging, but like I see like the lag, and it's you're like in this like abstract kind of like flow. But now
you're fine on my end.
Now you're back. It's first of all, what a metaphor. And by the way, I dressed up as Battletoad for Nickelodeon when I was in high school. And I too had the same message, but I didn't go as deep as you. Like they told me, don't take your mask off and don't talk to the children. And I'm just going to tell you really quick, because I was Battletoad. These little kids were all over the tail of this costume and were like swinging me. They were grabbing, they were like, Battletoad, and they were like actually punching because the costume had like these big muscles. And I looked at one of the kids. I said, "Don't you touch my tail." But it was a rule not to speak, but I had to speak because this kid would not leave me alone. Then I got fired.
Yeah. Well, I got kicked. I was getting kicked by little kids, and I just have to share. It's like I got kicked, and it made me emotional. Because I didn't talk, actually, which is funny. I was like, I am out of here. And this is a funny story. I go back into the principal's office, which was like my changing room. And I take my hat off. I'm like, picture me, I'm sitting in a principal's desk. And suddenly there's a knock at the door. I'm like, yeah. And it's an adult. They're like, hey, Blitz. I'm like, yeah. And a guy opens the door and he's like, hey, Blitz. And he sees me kind of emotional. He's like, oh, you're not leaving because those kids were being mean to you, are you? And I was like, oh, no, I'm fine. And he just looks at me and he goes, it's okay. I'm a clown. The idea of when you're learning to tune in and listen to your inner wisdom, don't start with the big things. Start with small things, like the little, don't like, oh, I'm moving across the country. Like, no, actually, I don't want to go to this party tonight, even though usually my head would be like, go. Something in me is like, it just feels off. Trust that, right?
Right.
Or go to this grocery store instead of that one, and maybe there's some there's some purpose you will find. You might not always know, but do that. The other thing I
Right.
talked about is like, once you let go, so you remove those masks or those operating patterns,
Right.
what happens? Well, then you're in the unknown. It's uncomfortable. It's like this whole
Yeah.
new terrain. And one of the things you need to do is befriend that space, like befriend the darkness, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so much comes up in that space. And this is all about deepening your awareness and understanding of who you really are, right? Though
Right.
it can feel very scary at first.
Right.
Keep going. It's okay. Revelation happens. So, anyways,
Right. Well,
that's a little
I
bit of what I was
no,
talking
no,
about.
I love it. I love it all. And what I talk about is beyond that awakening and that awareness as well. Like, why? Why does it matter? And so, yes, it matters because we need to know ourselves in order to make the right decisions for our lives. We need to know ourselves in order to choose the right relationships, the jobs, to make the moves and do all the things. And a lot of my work is focused around embodied leadership and really making impact in the world with our children or in companies or nonprofits or our business that we've created, communities that we're living inside of, students on campuses. This message really is for everyone. And it is about awakening that wisdom from within, learning how to trust it and be led by it so that we can be fulfilled ourselves and make impact in the world. So I'm curious before we go,
Yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about that from your perspective, because clearly
Yeah.
this whole awakening and journey has served you. You've written a book, you're doing all these incredible things. So, and you're a leader in so many ways. So I'd really love for you to explore that with us.
Yes. Okay. I love that. So what I was sort of walking through, or you were leading me into, is this framework based on Joseph Campbell's, um, the mythologist hero's journey. And
Mm,
I lived through this thing, and then I kind of said, how would I describe it? So you leave the familiar, that's phase one. You fall into the unknown, phase two. Phase three is rising to wholeness. And
right,
in that third phase, so anytime the hero, the heroine, the human goes on this journey, and this is a universal pattern, by the way,
right.
to really go on this journey into awakening and evolution, what's happening is it's never just about you. It's not like and Campbell uses this language of the hero returns with a boon. What's the boon? A boon is a blessing. So I
Mm,
say one of the steps in my framework is you give your gift. There's a gift. So if you've done all this inner work, if and yet still this is just about you, your own success and what you have, I'm sorry, you need to keep going. There's something else you need to shed, because at the end of the day, always and forever, this journey is about making a more generative, wholehearted contribution to the world. We heal ourselves, we become more whole, so we can help heal others and help them become more whole. So
mm-hmm.
I'm exactly with you on that. Um and I think it's really important to highlight this, because sometimes, people can listen to these conversations, say, I'm just so busy. I don't have time to slow down.
Mm,
I don't have time to, get still and go within and do these practices and do, be in my body and, or
right.
meditate. But here's the thing, like, without doing that, like you're doing it, when you do it, this is actually ultimately for the common good. And what you're doing is you're resetting your nervous system. You are cultivating your being so that
Mm,
when you're in a room, when you're in a conversation, you're in that alignment, and you're not reacting to all the things around you, and you can be a stable, calm, I dare I say, loving presence in the midst of whatever's going on. And that is what we need in our world so desperately, is like we react, we react, we react. And just to say one more thing, because this is, captures a bit of my journey.
yeah.
I was in the helping professions. I was helping a lot of people. I was making a big impact. But when I lost myself, I lost my way. Here's the deal. I'm organizationally working for good, working for change. But in my being, I'm communicating and embodying a different message,
Mm,
which is, it's anxiety,
right.
it's fear, it's whatever it is. There's conflict I'm creating.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've seen this with so many leaders. It's like you're doing good work, but because you're not tending to your being, you're actually at another level working against the exact thing you want to be about, right? So
Right.
this is where it's so critical. It's like what I'm doing for myself is also for the collective.
Yeah. Yeah. What's coming to me too is that, it's not like it's like, yes, go in and then lead from that place and find happiness and connection with what we're doing. And it's not even about like some people are like, I'm not in that service world. I have to pay my bills and I'm doing this other job and then I find passion elsewhere. And that's totally fine. Like
Mhm.
everybody's got their own path, but it is about right that connection to self so that no matter what the job is, whether it's your life purpose or your
Mhm.
service driven business, whatever, or if it's not, you're connected some way and then serving in other aspects of your life because there are people in the world that go to work because they get the paycheck, it pays the bills, and then they find that passion and that alignment and that service elsewhere in their life. And that
Yes.
is a leader as well. It's not like leadership is just corporate America. Leadership is
Yes.
just being a human being,
Yes.
being an example for your neighbor or for your child, right?
Yes. Yes. We don't need, everyone going on an inner journey and becoming a coach, which I
Right.
am, right? But you don't, that's not it. You don't have to do that. Like you might
Right.
go on this journey and end up back in the same office in the same building with the same people, the
But
same
with more
company,
connection.
but with more connection,
Right.
right? And it also, what you shared brings up this idea of like, well, what is purpose? And one of my, teachers, he talks about the word dharma, which a lot of people understand from it's like maybe in Buddhism, but like its origins in the philosophy of India is that dharma, at the end of the day, it's behavior, it's about spontaneous right action.
Mm,
Spontaneous right action.
mhm.
It's about your particular role in the evolution of things. So what does all that
Right.
mean? It means that purpose, let's get away from this like purpose is like the professional expression of this. It's a job. No, purpose is like Jen in this moment, uh, when you're interacting with someone, because you're aligned and you're in tune with yourself, how actually are you able to meet them where they're at? There might be
Mm,
a word you need to say,
right.
a question you need to ask, just a smile you need to give. This is all purpose. And if we're not kind of tuned in, we're going to
Yep.
show up in moments and we're going to miss them. We're going to miss the possibility to make a generative contribution in that moment, which then has a ripple effect on everything.
Yeah, totally. I love it all so much. You're such an example of all of this. It's really that story that you had and your connection and disconnection and reconnection to self is such an inspiration and one that I think people are going to want to learn more about. So tell us where they can find your book. Tell our listeners how they can find you and connect with you
Yeah.
and learn more deeply about what it is you do.
Thank you, Jen. So the book is called The Way Home: Discovering the Hero's Journey to Wholeness at Midlife. That's a long subtitle. But
Yes.
you can find it anywhere books are available. Okay, anywhere.
Mhm.
You can ask your local bookstore. If they don't have it, they can order it. Obviously, Amazon, things like that. You also can, if you prefer audiobook, you have Spotify Premium. You should get it for free, or you can do Audible, Apple Books, etc. I
Mhm.
auditioned for the part. Thank you very much, and I got it. I got to read my own book, which was super fun.
Yeah,
Um,
I did that too. It
so
was
yeah,
so
right.
fun,
Isn't
right?
that great? Could you
Oh my god,
imagine someone else reading your book though? That would
no.
be weird.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
that's a choice and I get that, but
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that process.
right. I can't imagine it for my book. I'm not saying
Yeah,
for other. That's
for
fine.
other
Um,
people, yeah.
yeah, but my website is Ben Katt Official, bencottofficial.com. And also, I'm part of something called Modern Elder Academy, which is the world's
Yes.
first midlife wisdom school, meawisdom.com. I regularly lead workshops at their campuses in Santa Fe and
Mm.
Baja California. I have some coming up. I'd love to see people. But otherwise, thanks so much for your time. I'm not surprised you also were a mascot at one point. This does not surprise me, Jen. Yeah,
I love that. Well,
yeah,
I have so many further questions, so I know we're gonna continue to talk, and
yes.
the last thing that's just coming to me just before we go, I'm just curious, do you ever speak to younger adults?
Um,
Your book is for midlife, and I'm just wondering, do you speak to young men and women in college, in high school? Because I find, and I'm really focused on this right now, really helping this demographic understand the importance of connection from within, wisdom from within, emotional intelligence, and how it can really serve their life.
Yeah. So I do every day because I have three teens and they don't want to necessarily hear it
Yes.
from me. But but also I'll say I'm ready and available. So it's not something I do a lot. However, I
Mm,
love your question because the thing in midlife, this was so I had a publisher, grateful for my publisher, but they wanted that in the title. I was
mm,
like, it's not just for people in midlife. I
right,
was in early midlife when I went on this journey, the first
right,
round of it at least.
right.
This inner journey, it's for everyone. And I think especially in these times that we're living in with so much
Yeah,
chaos and many challenges,
yeah,
this invitation to go within and access your authentic wisdom, it's so
yeah,
relevant for all of us. So if anyone out there is, a teen
yeah,
in college, whatever, check out the book. Um,
absolutely.
reach out. Would love to support you. And Jen, thank you. Thank you. This was a
Oh
lot of
my
fun.
gosh, thank you. It's been so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Stay here for a quick second. I'm going
Yes.
to say goodbye to everybody, and we will see you next week on Wisdom from Within, where human stories awaken the leadership from within. We've all got it, and I'm excited to see you again and deepen your wisdom even further. See you next week.